Hey, today we're going to show you how to assemble your skateboard. This tutorial is going to look at just one way to put your setup together, but it won't take long to figure out what works best for you. You'll need the following parts for your setup: a deck, a set of wheels, a grip tape, a set of bearings, a pair of trucks, and hardware. If you want, you can also add the following: riser or shock pads, spacers, deck rails, and you'll need a few tools: a skate tool, a box cutter, a razor blade, or something similar. First, we need to grip the deck. In other words, apply the grip tape. Lay your board out with the graphics down in front of you. If you have grip tape that has a logo or graphics as well, then make sure that you tape it in the right direction. Most graphic grip tapes are designed so that the upper part goes on the nose in the front, but it also works the other way around. Have a close look at your deck to see where the nose and the tail are. The nose is usually a little longer, wider, and steeper than the tail. The deck's design can also help you figure out which is what. The graphics are usually designed so that the nose is at the top or to the left. The engraving on the top of the deck also shows you where the nose is. If it's not on its head, the nose points towards the top or straight ahead. On our deck, the nose is here. Take the backing off of the grip tape and hold on to it, because it can come in handy later. Hold the grip tape between your thumb and index finger and center it with the sticky side facing your deck so that it's completely covered with grip tape. To find the right alignment, we suggest applying the grip tape to the nose or tail first. But you can also position the grip however you want and let your creative side out. When you're happy with your grip, take the backing that you removed, lay it on the tape, and press it bit by bit from the middle towards the edges. If air bubbles get trapped in between the two, try to press them out with the palms of your hands. If that doesn't work, you'll have to make a small hole in them with your box cutter and let the air out that way. For decks that are wider than 9 inches, you'll either need a wider grip tape or you'll need to get creative. One thing you can do is cut your grip in half. When you put it on your board, then leave a bit of space in the middle between the two halves. You'll gain a few valuable centimeters that way. Turn the pieces of grip tape around and stick them on with the outer edges facing in. This will give you straight lines in the middle. Otherwise, it's no different from gripping smaller decks. The next thing you'll need is your tool or a file, a screwdriver, a truck, or just whatever you have handy that's hard and metallic. File around the edges of the deck on top of the grip tape so that you get an outline of the deck. This creates a visual aid that will give your grip tape a clean cut. It's enough to have a clear outline. You don't have to apply too much pressure or file the grip down to the board. Now cut off any extra grip tape. It helps if you make a nick in the tape at the nose and tail. If what's left over got bent while filing, then just bend it back up a little. This makes it easier to cut. Tracing and cutting the grip tape with a box cutter can be a bit tricky, but practice makes perfect. Hold the blade at an angle slightly tilted toward the center of the deck and give yourself some time. Try to guide the blade with the same pressure and speed in one even stroke, and be careful not to cut into the wood of the deck. It can be helpful to keep your finger on the edge of the deck while you're doing this so that you keep the blade in position. Be careful with the sharp blade and make sure it's never pointed towards you or others. You can use the cuttings to smooth down the sides of your deck. This will give you a clean edge, and your grip tape will withstand a little more wear and tear. The best thing to do is fold the cuttings together. That way they don't stick so easily to your hands, your clothes, or anything else for that matter. To mount your trucks on the board, you should poke some holes in the grip tape first. The best way is to take a bolt from your hardware and press it through the truck holes from underneath. This will cause the grip tape to rise up off the deck a little. You can make small holes here with the box cutter and then make holes in the grip tape with your tool's Phillips screwdriver or with the bolts. You'll get them into the holes better this way later on. Place the bolts into the holes from the top. You can mark the nose and tail with different colored bolts if you want. That way you'll always know where the front and back are. Then the trucks come under the deck. If you want to use pads, now's the time to put them between the deck and the truck. Just stick them on the bolts. Now place the trucks onto the 4 bolts. Make sure the truck's kingpins are facing the middle of the deck. Using the hardware's nuts, screw the trucks firmly onto the deck. You can use your skate tool for this. Tighten the nuts until the bolts' heads are even with the grip tape. The last thing to do is to put the wheels on the deck, here on the trucks. Loosen the axle nut from the axle and take off the upper speed ring. Now place the bearing on the axle with the shield facing down. If you have bearings with shields on both sides, those are these small cover rings, then it doesn't matter how you put them on the axle. Then press the wheel down on the bearing with the heels of your hands until it's all the way in the wheel. You should hear a small click when the bearing is in there properly. Make sure that the wheel is straight. If the bearing is still crooked or the wrong way around the wheel, you can lever it back out with the axle. Do all this again for the second bearing. If you want, you can put in a spacer at this point. Spacers make sure that your bearings always stay parallel to each other. Set the spacer on the second bearing and press the wheel down onto it like you did before. Place the second speed ring back on the axle and tighten the axle nut onto the thread. After that, tighten the nut. You shouldn't do this with too much force because you don't want to destroy the bearing. After all this, loosen the nut a little bit. The wheels should have a little give. Do this for the other 3 wheels and your setup is ready. If you want to mount rails onto your deck, we're going to show you how we did it with ours. Lay your rails on the deck however you want and align them. Ideally, there should be some space between them and the edge of the board, and they should be parallel to each other. Start with the middle screw and tighten them one after the other from the inside out. If you're not satisfied with your board steering, you can adjust the kingpin on your trucks. Tighten the kingpin nut a bit more so that your trucks are a little less responsive. Loosen them a little to make them more responsive. Your setup is finished. Have fun with it. Take a look at our trick tips to learn your first tricks. More information about skateboarding and individual components can be found in the Skate Deluxe Skate Shop. Find the links in the description.